Welcome everyone. The topic for the discussions in today's presentations would be about financial intelligence with respect to HR. So let us proceed with the topic. So the general finance work personality, what are they? Now, usually finance people are all about pragmatism, right? They need to have a matching with the reality, the sense what we has been reported. They need to have evidence towards it. So they are pragmatic towards their work approach. Only logic is used as if and then statement if the basically as a causal effect that we are looking into it as far as finance work personalities are concerned. These people are hyper because yes, they have a deadline. Every month is a month end is a deadline. Every quarter end is a deadline. Every half yearly there's a deadline, and you have to have the audit process. And believe me or not, all legal rules actually gets implemented and probably get audited by the finance department thereby. So they are analytical in natures and similarly dogmatic thereby. What about the general HR work personality? We have spoken about the general finance work personality. Now, HR personality, on the other hand, not so go-getters. They are comforting, they are knowledgeable, they're adaptable, they are very much relaxed at their work. They are empathetic towards one another. They basically believe in sequencing work, or should I say prioritizing. In one word, it should be organizations that we are looking. They are very organized in their approaches. To them, relationships are of vital importance. Now, look at the stark differences between HR work personality and finance work personality thereby. The finance work personalities are pragmatic in their approach. They are go-getters, they are analytical, they are logical. They have to find a cause and effect relationship. On the other hand, the HR work personalities are all about knowledge, all about comfortable in their zone, all about being relaxed, all about being empathetic, probably sequencing their work or organizing their work as much as possible. Understandably, relationship is of utmost priority out here. So how do we go across with an excitement in your finance department? Now, with finance department, the numbers that matters. It is all about turnover. It is all about reduction. We are talking about digits out here. We are talking about numbers. We are looking into finance department for less expensive training. Yes, definitely they are there to reduce cost and probably increase the profitability of the company. Benefits with less cost, they would be looking for revenues to go around it. The new analysis that they get is what they will be excited about. So, what we are talking about it, we are talking about the better jargons that comes around it. You might, definitely you might, if you pursue with logic and probably with a lot of persuasion, you might actually win them over as a result. So let us understand what are we looking at in terms of turnover or attrition focuses. Do we hire slowly or do we fire quickly? Which is what we need to go around it. Probably finance department would be looking at hiring on a slower and slower basis, whereas probably the finance department would be looking at firing as quickly as possible, whereas the HR department will be the other way around. They will look to hire absolutely as far as possible, as much as possible in a shortest span of time, wherein they would like to linger on with a employee who is not giving requisite result. Probably they are looking to fire slowly thereby. Improved interviewing or screening process. Studies prove that better interviewing, better screening application can reduce attrition by approximately 50% and precisely by 42%. So let us employ our interviewer abilities. Let us employ the screening, a stringent screening process so that we don't have to hire people on a regular interval, because every time you hire, there are been costs which has been involved that is to be taken care of. Similarly, why focus? Now, the question is, why do we focus on interviews and how does HR actually can really control? Foremost, first thing for the HR would be a smooth operation of the company. It is the day-to-day work environment. Remember, no matter what happens, the organizational operation should not suffer. It is all about low level of influence, probably, or low level of control, the way you want to go around it, the daily manager interaction with the staff. When I say interactions on a daily basis, we are to focus on the quality of interaction rather than the quantity. Low level of influences and control, definitely. Applicant screening process and High level of influences and control. Where do we look into it? Do we look for low level, or do we look for medium level, or do we look for high engagement level as far as screening is concerned, as far as interviewing is concerned, as far as working is concerned, as far as process is concerned? Then we need to control this thing, and this is what the HR can play a majority of the role. Focus on what you can control. Remember, it is the right human or the wrong human. What you can control is the right human. Personality in a poor marginal work environment is more likely to be having a long-term employee. This is what we are looking into it. Whereas personality in great work environment is not likely to be a long-term employment. Why? Because they have worked in a better places. They will not be getting awed in front of your work environment, the quality of work that you producing. But probably a person who comes from a poor work environment, probably there is a dire requirement for him to actually fend for his requirement, his family, and so on and so forth. They might prove to be a long-term bet as far as employment are concerned. That is where the focus on what you can control. You should be focusing on the right person thereby. So the right people at right position. Now this is making a synergistic effort. You know your work environment for a particular position, and if you get an acumen, a right acumen of a person to fit that position, nothing like it. You need to screen personality accordingly. Remember to identify negative job characteristics which are used to create custom screening instrument. Remember, this is what we are looking into it as to what kind of individual will become a fit for the job, or we need to at least screen out the job applicants who are most likely to have a negative implications. Probably they will not be hanging on to the job for a longer period of time. That will be detrimental to the cause of the organization in the short term for sure. So better screening. One of the method that I come across is job congruence system. It is matching the skills and the qualities or the abilities uh, of the applicants. So skill required by the job and the qualities of the abilities of the applicants. Job congruence system is one which works better fit, designed to access the compatibility of job demands and the applicant interest. Most useful when a lot of negatives have been associated with the job duties, customized to the job known work environment. It is what we are looking into it, and make sure that you should give a proper job description. You should refer to a proper job specification as to for relation to the job specification. You should always take note as to the person or the personality that had excel in that particular position, and based on the job description you should look into what kind of person would be the right fit thereby. Calculate the turnover cost. Now look at the two perspective. Remember, we are talking about financial intelligence for HR. Now from the finance perspective and the HR perspective, I have categorized into two column altogether for your understanding. The finance will be only be interested in the direct cost, easy to quantify. Absolutely. What is your advertisement cost? What was your recruitment cost? What was the time spent around it? What was the refreshment given? What was the travel allowances for attending the interview process, and so on and so forth. Whereas there is the labor to interview screen, labor to train, and so on and so forth. Then comes the cost of advertisement, which we have been telling it out in terms of, and then there obviously for the new uniform and the equipment. Now let us understand with HR what happens out here. We need to understand here. Often focuses on the indirect cost. Why? What is difficult to quantify, more difficult. Indirect cost is, if a person, if there is a position lying vacant, and if the position lying vacant for a day, for a week, for a month, it is going to have an implication as far as the quality of the job output is concerned, as far as the productivity of the organization is concerned, as far as the morale of the employees or the co-workers will be concerned. So that means there would be reduced productivity, there will be lost productivity, there will be lower morale, and so on and so forth. The increased risk of injury, or probably any litigation that comes around because of the accident, it becomes the position has been manned by a person who is not adequately trained per se. So these are your turnover cost in respective of finance and HR thereby. Turnover cost calculation method. Let finance win this argument because this is their core area. Either way, turnover is expensive. Let us understand from a HR perspective. Every time a person leaves a job and every time you're looking for a right person, right fit, it is involving a cost, be it implicit cost or explicit cost, as the cost you want to go around it. They will generally be agreeable with wanting to avoid turnover. Even the finance people would like to do so, and HR would always be empathetic towards the employee. Slowly introducing the real cost of turnover through persistent education is what we should be allowing it. Remember that managers, the supervisors should be explained about the indirect cost every now and then, because this will absolutely reduce unwarranted behavior from their part. So let us understand the training. Now we have certain things that needs to be contained, and this is what training is all about. It. If we hire a new blood into the organization, that person has to be properly groomed, properly trained, and therefore would be inducted in the organization. If not done, chances of accidents are plentiful. If not done, the productive will not be optimized, and so on and so forth. So there is this particular training aspect that we cannot neglect at all. Let us understand the value proposition of the training. What finance will say, or some manager would hear or think when a training session has been mentioned. The finance will always think, oh, too expensive, too insufficient or inefficient use of time. Absolutely, we are blocking time for unproductive work. So this is inefficient use. Just another excuse not to work, or probably to eat donuts. Geez, I have to do things. My people need to be producing at all times. Let us understand the training as for metaphors and saying it thereby. Not training employees is like a baseball team or football team that only plays game against opponent and probably never practices. You can always play the game because you know the rules of the game. You can come and play for the game, but will you be able to defend the title? Will you be able to win the game? Will you be able to see the end of the tournament as a winner? That is the question. Ever see a World Series champion that is never practiced? And that is the reason why your training is a must, to produce a motivated workforce, to produce an able workforce, to produce a skilled and probably dedicated, loyal employees out here. We should always have this value proposition as far as training is concerned. Remember, amateur practice just until and unless they get it right, whereas professional practice, so that they can never go wrong at all places. Now this is what the HR would be saying, and finance would be looking into. Training be an expensive exercise, training be an unproductive use of time, just probably, and so on and so forth, that comes around it. So let us understand the training program structures. If you go around it, we have the content management at the very top where it needs to be implemented. So we need to have the clear understanding as to what the objective is all about it, and probably thereby we start with the pedagogy. Now of the pedagogy, what we look into is the implementation process, development of the curriculum, and then probably the delivery mechanism thereby. How do we go implement the training? Is it only theoretical? Is it amalgamation of theoretical and practical, or it should be exclusively practical oriented? Probably you prioritize your work areas, you prioritize the skills that needs to be implemented, content and audience identification. Oh no, what is audience? It's the target group, the target employees which should be shortlisted for the training programs. We look into the program objective and thereby set standards. So how to win the training argument from the HR perspective, how to make it absolutely a must for the finance people not to disapprove of it. Remember how to get your training programs approved altogether. Now, make your training program as less expensive as possible. Let's say via using of technology, you can have training at the comfort of their workplace through internet or online platforms where they can attend their work. At the same time, they can attend the training per se. They do not have to come to a physical workspace to get themselves upgraded or upskilled. Scrutinize, remove travel cost as much as possible. Did I say so? If possible, utilize internal talent for your teachers. Now, teachers are the resource persons. Do not engage a consultant or expert altogether. If possible, if we have an homegrown talent who can act as a facilitator for such training program, assign subject matter experts internally. As much as possible, we can go about with it. So yes, let me give you the objectives of how to reduce the training cost altogether. First and foremost, can we reduce the traveling cost? Is it really necessary, this particular training, or is it cheap quality quasi vacation? So are we giving a training just for the requirement of upgradation or upskilling, or it is just another motivation factor that comes around it? As along with a little bit of training comes a quasi vacation for the employees, and they can chill and probably build a bond from within their team, from teammates. Send one employee, probably have them been taught, and then probably they should come back to their respective departments, respective location, teach others what they have learned, or probably better if you can record it, what they have learned, so that others can watch what they have done. Use friendly competitors to share training cost. Attend training virtually. Use go-to meetings, probably yes, and if possible, join for free for traveling cost. There are many platforms that is available which will give you a minimum number of, let's say, 50 applicants or 50 participants free altogether on a general platform, which is quite doable, which is quite doable altogether. You might have to hire teachers, but why not have somebody from your own? Have your current employees to be your teachers. Did I say somebody from your own? Who can be a subject matter expertise? The presenter often learns from the student. Record and probably keep, enhance the material created by the teacher for future use, future references thereby. This is what we should be aspiring for. And believe me or not, if you are working in an organization, the organization is in work for more than 5, 10 years, I'm sure you have something that is going right, and that means that you have a definite core competency. But believe me or not, an organization will not be able to survive 5 or 10 years if there are no subject matter experts. Designated employees, certain employees to be subject matter expert. They can teach others what they have learned or what they're confident of, consistently with the help of the top management and the guidance thereby. Enhance pride in their work, fosters cooperation among the employees thereby. This is what we should be looking into it. Remember, employee benefits is all about perception, about what they think about themselves, about their company. Perception is factually the reality for an individual. And do employee perceive benefits the way you want to do it, the way you want to see it? Is it the right methodology? A lot of work, a lot of play is been done on perception level itself, nothing else but perception. Let us understand the free benefit ideas. For example, free benefit idea is something which gets attracted, or the finance department will be lapping onto this particular thing. So you use company buying power, find vendors that sell something to your employees, could find beneficial to get a great discount. If you want to give some freebies during the training program, something in their kits, ask a local dry cleaner to pick up free deliveries, or pick up for the employee usage. We can obviously come up with free lunches and so on and so forth. Let's say and there are many other things that you can go around it. Let's say personal computer skills, personal finance, local professional can donate their time, effort to gain possible customers per se. Now, remember, there is this modus operandi between HR and finance. They are a different perspective from what they are hearing it out. What you see and what they hear are complete two distinct, and in fact opposite, understanding and meaning altogether. So please get right your jargon. Please ensure that everyone is on the same page, and there is no communication gap. So what you say and what they hear, we would love to go around it. Before I come to an end of this presentation, the HR says, we have realized from a last employee survey, the staff does not like alternating holiday schedule. It seems we are not incentivizing them enough. This is what HR says. It means not one person goes and the other person stays back. Then probably the other person goes and the first person comes back. It is what you call about the alternative holiday scheming, scheduling. The financiers what, or probably thinks what if HR says such things. So this alternating holiday schedule that seems perfectly reasonable and fair is now going to cost us. Why don't you just say from a staff survey people want to be paid more for working on holidays? And why don't we just tell them to get onto the bus or off the bus and work every other holidays or work somewhere else? Something which is completely true from the finance perspective. They say their understanding is, oh, if you want the organization to work on the holidays, you should pay double to the salaries of the employees who are working on the holidays. Or else you can ask them to ship out or find some other organization. Are you talking about increasing cost? what is it that you are looking into it. See, there are two, the same boil, the same coin, two perspectives, two sides that have been presented. Let me give you another one for your understanding before we wind up this presentation. Finance people would again hear this statement. We have realized from our last employee survey, our turnover might increase due to the alternative holiday schedule. We feel it would be worthwhile to provide some additional compensation that would be far less expensive than any increased turnover. Here are the numbers of estimate possible turnover in a change for, let's say, a policy of 4 staff at $10,000 per year per lost employee. So that means at 4 staff it'd be 40,000 cost. So that cost provided an additional pay for alternative holidays at 13,000 only. We could have actually saved $27,000. You have to give a different perspective for them to understand what we are talking about it. So yes, there is this tussle that will grow on between HR and the finance. There are implications that one has to understand, and this is what all our priorities, rules, regulation of HR policies is all embroiled into. With these words, I would love to wind this particular presentation. Thank you for watching this video.